Hello and welcome to another edition of the Moving Iron Podcast. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for almost 100 years. Find out more at axontire.com. Axon was started almost 100 years ago out of a passion for keeping agriculture moving. It's that same passion that drives them today. With a vision for a better experience for both farmer and dealer, they set out to create a better way to move more iron. When you partner with Axon, you get immediate access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. Axon carries all major brands and sizes of tires, wheels, and tracks. From custom colors and sizes to fully customized wheels, you can have the solution for virtually any problem today's farmer is trying to solve. To find more or become an Axon dealer, please visit axontire.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Valley Transportation. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransinc.com for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is also brought to you by Ag Direct. No matter how you buy your ag equipment, from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving Iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast Markets with Chip Nellinger. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com. Also, Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment, from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even go online at agdirect.com for more information. Learn about all your financing options at agdirect.com. Chip is with Blue Reef Agri Marketing out of Morton, Illinois, and Chip is nice enough to come on once a week to talk about what's going on in the marketplace. So, Chip, how you doing, man?
Doing well. These markets are staying exciting, Casey.
They are.
It's something new every day. So, boy, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, no lack of excitement there. So, let's hit on some of the factors we're seeing out there right now. So the outside markets have gotten pummeled this week because of the Fed has popped up. So by March we're gonna raise some rates. So they kind of bounce back and forth about that. You got the geopolitical stuff going on with Russia and China, and so you got a lot of money coming into the commodity markets from the outside markets, and from a geopolitical reason as well as just money flowing coming out or trying to cover some losses on the other side. So I guess as you take a look at what's going on this week, kind of recap the week and kind of give me your 2 cents on what you saw happen this week.
Yeah, I think you hit most of the high points there. The dollar has been pretty strong, kind of broke out for a whole new push higher here as the Federal Reserve indicated they're going to, stay on the path to raise interest rates. This inflation thing is it's really bad, Casey. So they're going to it's so bad they're going to wait till March to raise interest rates. But nonetheless, the dollar took that as a sign that hey, we're underpriced here. If our interest rates are going up higher than other countries, then that's friendly to the dollar. And in spite of that, though, like you said, there's been a lot of buying in the commodity markets. Crude oil. Now knock on the door of $88, and we've talked about that all along. That if you want to talk about inflation, just watch crude oil. If crude oil is not rallying, then there is no inflation. But it is rallying, and combine that with the Russia-Ukraine situation here. It kind of depends on what news source you listen to. If you're based in the United States, you would think that some massive conflict is imminent. If you're in Europe or, Ukraine, even for that matter, or Russia, you'd think it's just no big deal. So the truth probably is somewhere in the middle. But the grain markets are on high alert right now. And the wheat market's been very, very choppy. On the initial information of that potential conflict, wheat put a big short covering bounce in, rallied almost $1 off the lows. It's since set back. You guys had some snow out west of you and south of you, in some of the dry areas of Kansas, and that was beneficial if you received it. Certainly on the wheat crop, but corn and beans, boy, still just really strong. And I think the large part of that goes back to South America. They have received some great rainfall in some of the dry areas over the last couple of weeks, but that extended forecast going into February here kind of flipped back hot and dry. Obviously, there are areas that missed these rains. I think the ideas are starting to grow that both Brazil and Argentine corn and bean crops are shrinking, not getting larger. The rain may have stabilized it, but I think there's some ideas building that crop is going to be a little bit lower than what people thought. And if that's the case, it just really tightens the balance sheet up of corn and beans. And we're not even into that second crop season yet in Brazil. So March and April, should the dry weather continue, could really get interesting. Our demand is good. Brazilian, bean prices continue to rally. That's one indication that maybe their crop size isn't as big as expected. Our export sales had a pretty healthy week this week across the board, especially on the bean side at a time where, our bean exports normally struggle right now. So is that the start of a trend, or is that a one-off? We don't know. But the demand pump is fully primed. The supply across the world seems to be in retreat. And you've got this potential conflict with Russia and Ukraine that, in the worst case scenario, could be wildly bullish. There's just it's so critical and strategic, that Black Sea area, for the export of not just wheat. Wheat's the biggest one and most well known, but a lot of corn, a lot of barley, feed grains, sunflower and seed oil. It's a massive influence across the spectrum, and very strategically important. And who knows what the result of this conflict or invasion may or may not be. And when there's that uncertainty, the market typically shoots first and asks questions later, and adds a little bit of risk premium. And I think that's what we're seeing here recently.
Yep. All right. So let's talk about the natural gas side of it for just a minute and what that looks like. So much of, and you see a big rise there because so much of Europe's natural gas comes from Russia. There's an issue there, and then we're bringing a lot of natural gas into the United States from Russia because we can't get our own. But I guess as you take a look at that spectrum of natural gas, what that's doing to fertilizer and those kind of things, that problem really hasn't gone away. Don't want to say it's gotten any worse, but it sure hasn't gotten any better. So I guess as you look around, people you're talking with, what are you seeing out there right now as far as fertilizer prices as you start heading into spring?
Yeah, it's been wildly volatile. So European natural gas a couple weeks back did kind of put in a correction off of some highs. Fertilizer prices at the Gulf have been in retreat, and some nitrogen as well, particularly urea. And so you just don't know how that's going to affect things, or if it's I guess too little, too late as it relates to the spring stuff. My guess is, when we've seen this in the past, it doesn't flow through to the end user, meaning the farmer producer, fast enough. So could it come down by summer and this coming fall? Absolutely. But is the price drop that we're seeing at the Gulf too little, too late? Is there already enough supply in the system that was booked and locked in at higher levels that it won't really pass through yet, for the spring application? And then on top of that, you've had some crazy weather here in the United States. Our natural gas prices are starting to creep a little bit higher. I think some of that is weather. There's some big cold snaps across the northern section of the Corn Belt. Mm-hmm. The East Coast have had a couple big storms, but now there's more talk that if this Russia-Ukraine situation would result in, I guess, slowing natural gas flow into Europe, that we would step to the plate and, be exporting a lot more. And so, again, I mean, there's just so many implications with this instability in that Black Sea area and Ukraine and, pipeline considerations there. And, at the heart of it, that's likely what Putin's ultimate, goal is. I mean, very rich natural resource area and some key, pipelines run through there. And obviously the Black Sea port, very, very important. Yeah. So, I think the energy markets play into this as much as the grain markets. And again, when there's uncertainty, typically what happens is you see a rise in prices, and in this inflationary type environment with the stock market doing what it's doing, a lot of selling pressure in this stock market. We haven't seen this aggressive selling in a long, long time. So how deep does that push it? It's kind of woken up some of these, 22-year-old day traders that, hey, stocks don't always go up.
That's right.
Every dip might not be for buying.
Exactly.
And so some money I think that's caused some smart money, quote unquote, to, pull out of equities. There's been massive amounts of profits in there and, come into the commodity side, the raw material side. So that just adds additional buying pressure, across the energy sector, across the grain sector that already have some friendlier fundamentals, and gets explosive at times here. As look at a bean chart, look at a corn chart, look at a crude oil chart. Natural gas, is on 5-6 month highs here. I guess maybe not that much. Certainly 2 month highs anyway, and the trend looks like it's higher for sure in natural gas. That's going to be a lot of weather in that as well as the political stuff we've talked about.
Yep. All right, let's jump over and talk about hogs real quick. They had a pretty decent run up here till later this week, and they got beat up pretty good, mostly due to what happened with the dollar and exports and those kind of things. But as you look at what's going on in the hog market right now, what are your thoughts there? And do you see a good chance to rebound going into the spring? I mean, typically right now it's kind of a slower time, but going into March, what's your thoughts?
I do. It's really a little bit off kilter with what the normal seasonal pattern has been. I think this goes back to clear back to the middle of COVID and the shutdowns and the supply chain and increase inflation, I guess, if you want to call it that. The cost to expand just shot through the roof, and I think we didn't really see the expansion in the hog industry that you normally would have with those high prices a year ago. And so, I think there's been a fair amount of money coming into the livestock sector as well on the cattle side and the lean hog side. Hogs were just overdone. You look at April hogs and they rallied $13, $14 in 2 weeks. I mean, that is a pretty steep run. So they were due for a correction. They're likely going to get one. Probably started that correction yesterday, but I think the brakes will be bought in here. You had summer months, even with the triple digit lower close, you had June hogs north of 105 on the close yesterday. So, I mean, you're in rare air up here. With all that being said, though, the biggest concern, you talk to any hog producer, anyone in the hog industry, and, the biggest concern out here is ASF. Right. Nobody wants to see ASF in this country. And that is a very real risk. A lot of vets say it's not if, it's when. And so there is a massive amount of risk out there. So, from a hog producer standpoint, you got to look at these summer months, look at some opportunities to take some risk off the table. It can be a lot of different things. It can be, just some simple put coverage in there. It can be, some hedges in there. It could be, LRP insurance is more viable than it has been in a long, long time. A year and a half ago or so, they changed the subsidies on this LRP insurance. That is a much more viable tool now. and something that probably needs to be, looked at pretty closely, because no one can quantify that risk. It's like the mad cow situation, 10, 12 years ago. ASF hits, you'll have multiple days of limit down, depending on the severity, and just the rumor. We've seen just the rumor of it in the past cause limit down days. So that risk is very real. But without that, I think that it gets a little scary to me out into summer. They're already north of 100. It's not even the prime demand time, and it could get really interesting out there, but not without some very real and possibly major risks. That's always going to be there in the hog market. Unfortunately, it's there in every market. Some black swan, but it's even more real and in front of us with this ASF situation.
Yep, good stuff. Well, hey Chip, good stuff as usual. You kind of hit on it there a little bit, having that plan and what that looks like and moving forward there. But if folks want to reach out to you and get some more information about what you're doing at Blue Reef and how you can help their operation, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, best way is just give us a call at the office. It's 309-550-7213. Love to chat with you. We talk about it all the time, Casey. Having that plan is critical, and we talked about this too. The stock market. Every dip has been for buying, and it's been like that in the grain markets for sure. The livestock markets, to a lesser extent, one of these days, the dips won't be for buying. And if you don't have a plan, you're going to get, you're going to get your knees taken out. So more critical than ever to have a risk management plan and be willing and ready to execute on it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, good deal. I am Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's where you find the latest editions of the Moving Iron Podcast. Also go to Moving Iron LLC for everything Moving Iron related. So, Chip, appreciate you being on the podcast, man.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Casey.
Right on. I'm Casey Seymour with Chip Nellinger. Let's move some iron, folks. Out. You want to have a meaningful competitive advantage to help sell more equipment. Whether you represent the sales, parts, or management department of an implement dealership, there's a surprising amount of complexity when it comes to tire, wheel, and track technology. Let Axon worry about that so you can get back to supporting your customers. Axon has leveraged years of experience to create a streamlined process that gives you a proven path to help today's grower and sell more equipment. The roots of their organization go back almost 100 years to the invention of the rubber tractor tire. Supporting agriculture is the number one driver of Axon, from product development through sales and service. To find more or become an Axon dealer, head over to axontire.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all of your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment from a dealer, auction, or a private party, AgDirect can help you finance it. You can even apply at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here.